The NCAA has it perfect. The reason it's so good because in the beginning that's where the Cinderella sit and everybody's infatuated with the Cinderella, but the Cinderella never wins it all, and that's what the NCAA wants because they will still want to push their blue bloods. So they get the best of both worlds if you think about it. This year, I don't think there's going to be that many Cinderellas. I think Houston, if they end up playing Illinois, can take them out. They almost won a couple of years ago. They got real unlucky on a crazy last second half court shot. Um, they're good though, and they score over 90 points a game, and in college it's a lot in the pros, but let alone college, you know. And they could beat Illinois, but Illinois is really really good, and on the other hand, they could win it all. So, but I don't really see. I do think Baylor is going to be taken out in the second round. I don't believe in them. I just don't. I think either Carolina or who's the other team Carolina's playing? Are they playing?
Carolina's playing Wisconsin, right?
Wisconsin, right? That's it. And they're in the toughest conference. I think they can beat Baylor. Both those teams, I do. So
now the winner of the Carolina Wisconsin team plays Baylor in the second round, assuming Baylor takes care of business.
Yeah, well, Baylor not going to lose the first game. Yes, they do. It's Carolina, the winner of Carolina, Wisconsin. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For some reason, I just feel like if Carolina wins that game against Wisconsin, they're going to beat Baylor.
Yeah, I do too. And I was picking games before we went on the show.
But I could see Baylor beating Wisconsin. I don't see them beating Carolina. But I could see Wisconsin beating Carolina.
I could see Baylor should be beating those teams. They're the number one. I just don't think they're gonna. I think they can be beaten by either or, especially in North Carolina. And Wisconsin's a pretty good. One thing about the Big Ten, each team has their own star on it. They're good, and they're going to be a tough out. The only thing was if history has anything to say about it, and it sometimes does and sometimes doesn't. The Big Ten doesn't do very well once the tourney starts. A lot of years they've gotten bopped out of it when they've had pretty good teams in there. So outside of Michigan State, that is. But, there's a lot of times where they didn't go as far as people thought they would. But I don't think that's going to be the case this year. They're pretty good. And they've got Michigan and Illinois are really good. Really good. And they got some really good players on the team.
So you're pretty confident the Big Ten is the no-holds-bar premier conference this year?
Well, it is. From what we can judge of it, I mean, we didn't have a full season with most of these teams. But, yeah, although a lot of them did play 25 games, that is still a decent amount, so, or more. But, yeah, the Big Ten's clearly better. They're better than the ACC this year and better than most of the teams in the South. There's no doubt about it. So they're going to be hard to beat, really hard to beat,
Yeah, I can't pinpoint a potential Cinderella. Is Dan Marley coaching Grand Canyon?
I think he is. It's funny. I was doing the picks before, and I saw Grand Canyon. I'm like, they're a college, But yeah,
I actually saw the campus a couple years ago when I was in the Phoenix area. Dan Marley's had some success there. In fact, I'm going to go out on a limb, folks, and to me, Grand Canyon is going to pull off the biggest upset of the tournament.
Wow.
That's my call. I'm calling it first, and I like Dan Marley, and I can't remember who they're playing, the 2 seed. Oh, I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, I just looked at. I was just doing picks when you called. I actually lost my. I have to redo it because when I jumped on here, the whole thing erased. I got to go back and do it on the ESPN bracket. I'm gonna do a bunch of them, but yeah, they do play against. I think it's a 2, right? Do they play against the 2?
Yeah, they're playing against they're playing against the 2 seed. I just can't recall which exactly which team they're playing, but I'm about to find out. They're playing Iowa. That's why I picked. They got that big guy Garza.
That's a Big Ten team. That's going to be hard. Iowa does have a star. He's a really good player.
And I like Iona. I like Rick Pitino too. To me, he's one of the greatest college basketball coaches. They have a very tough matchup though. Iona is playing.
They're playing.
Alabama. I like them in that game. I would not be shocked to see Iona
my brother in one of his
take care of business.
My brother picked. He's doing the ESPN. My brother, and he picked them in one of the two brackets.
As a shocker.
Yeah, because he agrees with you.
I could see. I'm almost. Yeah, I wonder if that might be the true shocker pick, not Grand Canyon. But yeah, I would never underestimate a Pitino-led team in the tournament.
Right. No, that's right. Oh, and by the way, since I guess it was the Indiana coach got fired the other day.
Archie Miller got fired, right?
Yeah, they're talking about Steve Alford to replace him. I don't see that. I know he's a darling there, but I don't see that. And somebody brought up Pitino's name. That I can see. Oh boy, they'll be pretty tough.
If I'm a P5 team in need of a coach, wink, wink, nod, nod, Boston College. Maybe redemption time in Boston. I would definitely hire Rick Pitino in a heartbeat.
Yeah. He'd be a great pick. I really don't think Alford will get it because he's had a lot of good teams, including with us, but we've never finished what we started. And I think sometimes other teams see that, and they kind of shy back. And one year he was 28-2 at New Mexico when he was there, and they didn't win it. I told you they got upset, remember? The other day when we were talking about it. So I don't know. And Indiana's realized I know they hated Bobby Knight, but they haven't won anything since he left. They haven't even been all that good.
Yeah, Tom Crean, they had Oladipo, and they ran into the Final Four Syracuse juggernaut and Michael Carter-Williams, and that ended that. I think that's as far as I know, that year that
was the closest they've gotten
that Sweet 16.
Yeah, it's been a long time since Bobby's been out. You got to remember that.
I know it was early 2000s, right? And then he went to Texas Tech.
Yeah, that's right.
And he got Texas Tech to the tournament, I think, a couple times.
Of course he did.
A couple times.
Of course he did. You know, I understand his anger issues, but nobody can deny what kind of a coach he was. He was great, whether you like him or not.
As far as I know, he still is the last coach to coach quidditch NCAA tournament champion.
Yeah, 1976. Kent Benson, friend of mine. Quinn Buckner. Quinn's still on the staff at Indiana. He pretty much has to say who gets hired, and he's on the board for the Hoosiers. But and they were on that team. They were a great team. And I'll tell you, the year before they would have went undefeated too. That was Wooden's last year, but Kentucky upset him before UCLA ever played him. We wanted Kentucky to win that. We did not want Indiana to win that because they were really, really good. And how they ended up, they lost at the end of the game against Kentucky. And then, UCLA had already beat Louisville. We beat them by 1 point. Ooh, what a wild game that was, And I want to say Junior Bridgman was on that team, and they were great. And the guy, I kid you not, Rob, the guy goes to the foul line. I still remember. I was on pins and needles watching the game as a kid. He goes to the foul line. The guy shoots 90% for his career. All he has to do is hit the 2 shots, and UCLA loses. He missed them both, and we won.
Wow, missed 2.
Yeah.
Oh,
he missed them both.
Brutal.
He missed them both. And a junior missed 1 or 2 down. He was like 90%. But, and we ended up going to the final game. That was Wooden's last year. It was in San Diego, the Final Four. And we ended up beating Kentucky. We beat Kentucky in the last game. And we were glad because Indiana, we would not have beaten.
So, John Wooden went out his last year. They won the national title?
Yes.
Wow.
The year after Bill Walton left. And blew it for us the year before. Sorry, Bill. Bill knows. He knows that's true. But he talks about that all the time, actually.
And Bill, we'd love to have you on the show anytime. Just
Yes, Bill, come on my
reach
show.
out any
I'm Tony's
moment.
brother. Come on my show.
We'll talk about the
We love you.
glory days and everything.
Yeah, we will. But that year he did win. You know what's funny about that? UCLA, I mean, they won 7 in a row, and they won, it was 10 out of 12, I believe it was, years. And the only 2 years we didn't win, the one year we didn't win because that was the year Texas Western won, the first all 5 black team. They beat Kentucky, but we would have been in that. We had a ton of injuries that year. And in the middle of the year, we were the number 1 team in the country, and we had to play the freshmen because we used to play the freshmen. Okay, our freshman team, because freshmen weren't allowed to play on the varsity. So they had a guy named Lou Alcindor on the freshman team, and yeah, we had to play them, and the freshmen beat us by like 30 points, and Jabbar had 40 points like in the game, something like that. So the next day, the papers said UCLA #1 in the country, #2 in the school.
Wow, I wonder how many other programs could make that claim.
No one. And the thing was, because Alcindor couldn't play, we didn't win the national title. Because if he was our center,
forget
he
it.
could play like that. Would have won.
Would you have won a game? Would there have been a single win that wasn't double digits? If he was playing
not with him.
that year.
Yeah, not with him. And the other thing is, the other year we didn't win was the Walton gang, Bill's gang. We should have won it. And, Bill was he was great, but there were times he wasn't quite as focused as he should have been. And at the end, we still almost won it. We had North Carolina State beat in North Carolina State. And that season, we played them during the year, we beat them by 20. We did. And that was the year Notre Dame broke our 88 game streak. We had to go there. We were up by 10 points with 3 minutes to go, and the ref just started going beep, beep. Before you know it, we ended up losing by 1 point. And we should have won. We had 4 shots at the end of the game, and all 4 of them went in and out at the buzzer. But what we really should have done, Tommy Curtis made a steal. He was our other guard, our shooting guard. He made a steal on the Notre Dame guy in the last minute and a half. He ran right to the basket and laid the ball, and the ref went travel. And you could see there was nobody there. There was no travel. I'll never forget that. And we ended up losing the game by 1 point. But even with that, we ended up playing NC State. It was in their place in Greensboro, actually. And Monty Tao lit us. Little guard, shooting guard, 3-point. He killed us. And they had David Thompson and Tom Burleson, who was like 7'7", But still, we had them beaten overtime. We were up by 7 points with a couple of minutes to go. And we just wouldn't call timeout, and Bill just, and Bill didn't want to, Coach kept saying, Bill, call timeout. Bill didn't do it. And so Coach just sat there and, okay. And we ended up blowing it. We ended up losing the game. And we missed our foul shots too. Dave Myers, rest his soul. He's a great guy. He missed a couple down the stretch. We would have iced it. But we should have won. And they would have won every one of those years. But the funny thing is, after all those guys left, Dave was our center the next year. He was only a 6'8" forward. We ended up winning the national title. Anyway, that's how great Coach Wooden was. So, he's sitting there after we won it. Everybody's jumping around, in the arena. Some fan walks up to Wooden and goes, "Thanks, Coach, for not letting us down this year like you did last."
Talk about entitlement. Good Lord.
Yeah.
I wonder if that person's still alive today. I wonder how they feel about that, or if they ever think about that. But that's interesting.
It's an interesting, and it really happened. I mean, my brother was actually on the sideline, I believe, when that happened with Coach, and he just walked up and went, "Oh, thanks for not choking again, like you did last year."
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And that would be just to have one of those seasons. A UCLA fan would be just unbelievably ecstatic.
Well, I think we went undefeated like 4 times. And the first 2 years was mid-60s still. And UCLA didn't have a guy over 6'5" on the team, I think. Our biggest guy was 6'5", and we went undefeated 2 of those years, 2 national titles. And we had 2 years. I want to say it's 2 years before, or at least 1 year, where Jabbar went pro. The Bucks drafted him, and Bill wasn't there yet. So we had our two forwards play center. Wicks and Rowe. Sidney Wicks was Player of the Year, and Curtis Rowe. They were amazing. And they say that, and Steve Patterson was our technically 7-footer center, but he wasn't very great, and he wasn't good. He was okay. But our forwards won us the thing, and they say that those teams were the best teams that UCLA ever had. A lot of people think it to this day. I'm getting a phone call. I don't know why.
Oh, no worries. It happens. People call.
Yeah.
People call.
People call. They do. Hold on.
It's okay. So while Bob tends to this phone call,
no, I'm not answering.
Oh, you're not going to answer?
I'm not answering.
Okay.
No.
I just believe this is the ultimate wild card tournament of all wild card tournaments. I don't. Nothing. I mean, nothing should surprise anyone when it comes to the tournament. But really, I could see no Cinderellas. I could see all Cinderellas. I could see a juggernaut Final Four. I could see all number 1 seed Final Four. Who knows how this thing is going to play out? I have no feel for this tournament.
Well, no, that's right. This could be a big Cinderella year. My friend texted me last night. He goes, Gonzaga. What do you think? I'm just like,
everyone's asking that question right now.
Because
you think it's Gonzaga's year? You think it's Gonzaga's year?
They have 2 NBA-ready stars on the team for one, and they're really good, and they haven't lost a game. But and this year, since everybody's so down, they just may take it. There may not be a Cinderella. They just may take it. It wouldn't shock me at all. But I think they're going to end up playing either Illinois or Michigan. Everybody's high on Illinois. I still wouldn't overlook Michigan. I'm kind of leaning towards Michigan.
Michigan is loaded with talent. I think you could make the argument they might be more talented than Illinois. I think that would just be a great game if they encounter each other. I hope they don't. Are they on? Well, I don't know. Are they on the same side?
They may be on the same side.
Okay, so potentially they could meet in the national semifinal.
Yeah, they'll meet either way. I just think Michigan can win it all.
Yeah, they definitely could. They're good enough.
I just don't know. I mean, there's always there's a rookie coach, or a younger coach. He's never done this, so. Juwan Howard, how long has he been there?
It's a good question. He might be a rookie coach or last year,
second
year,
2 years tops.
I'm not entirely sure. Right. I don't know. The Big Ten was definitely the best regular season conference. I just don't know how they're going to fare in the tournament. I think the early games, you guys, UCLA, Michigan State, the Carolina, Wisconsin, I think that's going to be telling of what I wonder. I don't know who's Ohio State playing. Ohio State is going up against. Let's see here. Ohio State's going to. They're the 2 seed, Oral Roberts. They'll do that, but then they have to play the winner of Florida, Virginia Tech. That's going to be tough.
Right. I don't think Florida's as good as they once were. I don't think anybody. Ohio State. I think they're going to be fine. Watch out for Houston, Rob.
Houston is a 2 seed. And I just saw
and they scored 90.
They scored
Cleveland like 92 State, points a game or something like that.
Cleveland State against another team might give a fight, but I don't think they can do it against Houston. I expect Houston to beat either Clemson or Rutgers.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of the Rutgers game last week. They were terrible to me. They didn't have much. I wasn't very impressed.
They started the season pretty hot.
Right.
It doesn't seem to have held up, but. Excuse me, it was good enough for a 10 seed, and if Syracuse takes care of business, they could be potentially facing, Clemson, Rutgers, or Houston in the Sweet 16.
Houston, I'd worry about. The other two, I wouldn't worry about, Rob. Clemson, but I'll tell you who I'd worry about though. Your first game.
Oh, absolutely.
San Diego State's
There's no looking past San Diego State.
No.
People are kind of talking about, how do we do against Huggins? And it's like, no, we need to take care of business against San Diego State, the 14-game winning streak team, veteran
Right.
team with a good coach. That's about. I believe he's going to Minnesota. That's what I've heard. He's going to take the Minnesota
Huggins.
job. No, the San Diego State coach. I don't know how
Okay.
official that is.
I
That
think
could
he's
be the
pretty
rumor
good, actually.
sphere. But
Yeah.
I'm hoping that that's the case and that stirs the pot a bit. The players know when the coach is leaving, that kind of thing.
Right.
I will take any advantage Syracuse can get at this point.
Right. I mean, with your team, you can't look ahead.
There's no looking ahead
Um,
because the team is
no.
bipolar. The team has a
Hmm.
high ceiling and a low floor. And
Right.
who's going to show up? We need the team. We need the ceiling to show up, not the floor.
Right. Yeah. I mean, after that, then the only other team I would see you have to worry about is Houston, and then eventually Illinois, because I think they're in your bracket, right?
Well, unless Morehead State
Yeah,
pulls
they
the
are.
upset, you got to watch out for West Virginia. I mean, they're tough.
Yeah, but
There's
they
no easy path for the 11 seed. That's just the way it is.
right. Well, that's right. But I don't know about West Virginia. I mean, they're pretty good. I don't really think that they're good enough to go all that far, you know. But we'll see. And Huggins always seems to get the team there, but then when the big games come, you don't go much farther. So I don't know. That's the history of Huggins. So I don't
Well,
know.
if we can survive San Diego State, who fortunately has, according to the coach, not played against 2-3 zone, which is very important. Syracuse tends to have the advantage with the short turnover for the second opponent in the tournament format. So if we can survive San Diego State, West Virginia has a day to prepare. That's not enough, and we're going to do what we do, and hopefully we dictate the flow of the game. And yeah, I just hope our talent can show up and we shut this San Diego State team down. I hope they get flustered by the zone and they don't know what they're doing, and we take care of business. But
Well, don't they have a big man though, San Diego
they
State?
have a rim protector. We play a short center, but his name's Merrick
Uh,
Dolajai. He's 6'9".
Right.
He's very thin. Good passer, but undersized for the center position. But fortunately,
Very.
we have a 7-footer backup with a 7'5" wingspan, a sophomore, Jesse Edwards, and
Does he play a
he's
lot?
getting more minutes. He basically was the catalyst to shut down North Carolina. I mean, they still out rebounded us by 15, but we beat them. But when he came in the game, he shut down the just getting the easy bucket layups in the inside game. So we're going to need
You may
him
have
to
to
step
use
up,
that.
come in there,
Yeah.
that gigantic wingspan and clog up the middle. But hopefully the starter can handle their whoever they got. But and
They got a big man, and if you guys play zone on them, they're going to push that thing down low, especially if the guy's undersized. That's how they're going to try to beat you, I would think.
that has been the recipe this year to take advantage of the undersized center. But now we have the X factor with this backup who's coming into his own now. So
Well, that's what I'm saying. You're going to
it's
have to use them.
yeah, and hopefully it's going to be incumbent upon Coach Bayheim to really manage the roster for this game. I mean, they have the event. They have 6 days to prepare, so they have more time, and it's going to be a challenge. But again, if we play our A game, we can definitely beat this team.
Well, yeah, I mean that can be said for any team. I mean, if you're just on it, that if you're on that day, no one's going to stop you, you know. But there, I would worry about the first game because
Yeah,
that's going to be
I'm
hard.
not looking past that game at all. I mean, this is the big enchilada. In my opinion, San Diego State probably is a 4. You maybe could make the argument they're a 3. I mean, they're on a 14-game win streak, and they lost to 3. Their only losses, I believe, are all teams in the tournament. So
Right.
they are they're going to be looking for revenge. The last time we played them was on actually a aircraft carrier almost 10 years ago. So hopefully we take care of business like we did at that game.
Right. Right. Um, I mean, the rest is. I mean, it looks like Zag. I don't think the Zags may run into one or two teams that can give them a hard time, but when you're scoring 90 plus points a game like they are, that's pretty hard to beat.
Well, what do you think about
You know,
Oklahoma State? There's a lot of talk about that team.
they have one. I think they have one of the best players in
They
college.
do. His name's Cade. I can't remember the full name.
Yes, and he's going
He's going to
NBA.
the
You,
NBA.
you, well, you know what? Here's the thing, Rob. In this tournament, guys like him can lead you to the champion. I think Toppin would have gotten um, Dayton to the Final Four last year if there was one. May even have won it. He was that good. And it goes back. I mean, I can remember when Wade and those guys with Marquette, they beat Pitt when Ben was there, and Pitt was number one in the country, and they went out and took them out. You know, and so a lot of times it's one or two individuals in this tournament that can take you a long way, if not win it all. I mean, hey, you had Melo, he did it.
Hmm.
He led you all the way. So in this tournament, that can happen. And that remember a couple of years ago, Buddy Hield, he got them to the Final Four, almost won it. He was great. He could shoot the
I
lights
can't
out.
remember him.
Was Oklahoma,
It was
I believe,
Oklahoma.
right? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, assuming
They
Oklahoma
probably should
State
have won it
takes care
all.
of business, they would potentially face Illinois in the Sweet 16.
And well, Illinois should beat them, and Illinois has a pretty good player in the middle. But if that guy decides to go off for 50 or 60, who knows? He can be. You know, it's just like when you have a superstar. Even in the NBA, this is true. At least it was with Jordan. When he was great, he would go on the road and score 50, like every night. When he was home, he scored 25. Why? Because he knew that everybody else played better at home, all his other teammates. And on the road, he had to carry the load. He knew that. This guy could carry the load. If he starts going off on somebody like Illinois, he can knock him off. Guys like that can do it. So don't put anything past a superstar. That could happen.
So I don't want to get into specific picks today. We can save that for tomorrow and potentially Thursday, Bob. But
Yeah.
do you want to change lanes at all? Is there any closing topic you want to dive into before we end the show?
Um. Let's see. Well, baseball's coming up. I'm pretty excited. I'm a Met fan, so we're gonna be pretty darn good.
That's a strong endorsement, Bob. If you say they're going to be good, they're probably going to be good.
It is a strong endorsement because nobody rips on them more when they're not. I am like the family member, the older brother. I will rip on the younger brother, and the Mets are the younger brother. So, matter of fact, they've been the infant. They've been so bad over the years. But yeah, like I'm a hard critic, and I'm an honest as well. So I'll give it to you straight, one way or the other. And I really believe I've been dying to have this owner come in. The last owner was a total joke, and he should have been out of there long before he actually went. And yeah, he always had a high payroll, but you got to remember two things. One, everybody gets paid more now, even the bad players. So the payroll is going to be higher. And two, he overpaid for players that weren't that good. Bobby Bonilla got a 25-year contract. The 25 years are up this year. He got $1 million a year. He hasn't played for the Mets in years, and the Mets are still paying him.
Yeah.
Yeah, no wonder why you got a high payroll. There's a good reason. Meanwhile, Steinbrenner went out and just got the great players. He didn't care what he paid them, and they won all the time. The Mets always overpaid for the wrong guys whenever they did decide to do it. Most of the time, they didn't even do it because they were too cheap. They would never get the best players, never. But now, this guy came in. He already said, "I'm gonna make us the new Yankees." That's all I need to know.
Wow. That came out of his
That,
mouth. That was a statement?
yeah, it did.
Really?
And I'll tell you, that was reminiscent of what happened in 2003 when John Henry bought the Red Sox. He said, "I'm going to match the Yankees penny for penny." When he did that, I knew the Yankees' 86-year curse on the Red Sox was just about to end. And within 1 year, it did.
And it's never let up. I mean, really. The Red
No,
Sox won in 2004? They won a couple now.
they've won. Oh, they've actually won 2004, 2007, 2013, and 2018.
So they've won four Series championships since they broke
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Since they went on that run.
Yeah, and you know what's funny about it? In the first 20 years of baseball, Ruth ended up playing on the Red Sox before the Yankees ever got him, and they had the
Wait,
most
did you?
World
How many
Series.
years did he play for the Red Sox?
He started in I want to say it's 19. I don't know if he was on the 1912 team. He was definitely there by 1915 or 16, and they had won. They won in 1903, 1912, 1915, 1916, and 1918. And in 1918, the last year, beginning of the 86-year curse, he pitched in the game, shut out the Cubs, and hit a home run in one of the games. I think a grand slam. So you know what? The 100-year thing. Not only is the curse broken, but it's reverted back to what happened before the curse. The Red Sox in the first 20 years of baseball of World Series play were the dominant team. They had the most World Series in this century. They have the most World Series wins. Matter of fact, Boston as a town has more titles in the first 21 years of this century than any other team. Any other team. That includes the Celtics and the Bruins because they finally won. So, yeah. And so it kind of reverted back. And what I think is amazing was the last out when the Red Sox won the World Series in 04. The number was Renteria. Okay, Renteria made the last out. He wore number 3, which was Ruth's number, which I thought was ironic. You know what I'm saying?
That is.
It was Edgar Renteria.
The last out. The curse
ended. And the last out recorded, I think when the Yankees got beat, was hit on the ground, a grounder, and number 3 made the put out for the Red Sox, which I thought was ironic. You know, so
and the Red Sox were down 3-0 in that series against the Yankees?
They were down 3-0. and no team's ever come back. It's still never been done in basketball. Never. Down 3-0, it's never been done. It never will be either. Because the home team wins too many. The percentage winning at home is too great.
I don't know, Bob. Never say never.
I'm saying never.
He's calling it.
Because I'm calling it, yes. Because it's too darn hard to win on the road, 4 times. Well, you got to win 2 on the road. It's too darn hard. It's hard to win 1, let alone 2. And the thing is, the year before, I had just – actually, no, in 04, I got the job at ESPN for a while. And I was there a couple years. And Casey Stern he was helping us with our game show. It was the Dream Job show. And I talked to him on the street in between takes one day. I said, and he had just gotten a Red Sox job. He won one of the contests at ESPN, I think, and they got him the job because they would look for new broadcasters, try to get him a job. And I worked on the set. And I talked to Casey in the street in New York City, and I said, Casey, you friends with the Red Sox owner? And he had the Red Sox sweater. It was really nice. He goes, yeah. I go, good. You tell him this for me. I'm a Met fan. I hate the Yankees. You tell him this for me. This is how you beat them. I go, when you play them, you know who you pitch in the big games? And he go, oh, yeah, Wakefield's great. I go, no, 1811. He goes, the year? I go, no, the ERA. That's his lifetime ERA against the Yankees. The Yankees love it when he goes in there. He's terrible. I go, he goes, but he won 2 times last year. I go, I know. But think about what happened at the end of the 03 playoff. Aaron Boone lit him in the last game. They brought him in relief, and he hit that home run. I think it was extra innings. And Boone hadn't gotten a hit the whole series pretty much. I said, pitch Derek Lowe in the big game. He goes, why Derek Lowe? I go, Derek Lowe hasn't lost to the Yankees in 2 years.
Whoa.
In the last 2 years, he also has the lowest ERA. He goes, what about Pedro? I go, Pedro was great back when you guys weren't. I go, now he's getting too old. They can hit him. They own him. Like you said, the Yankees are his daddy now. I go, but they don't own. They have nothing on Derek Lowe. It turned out in Game 2, the Yankees won Game 2, and I'm sitting with my friends, and we didn't want the Yanks to win. So I leaned back in the chair, and everybody thought it was over. And I go, if Schilling, because Schilling got beat that night, I go, if Schilling gets to pitch one more game, he'll beat them. And they're like, why? And I'm like, it's the George Stone rule. I go, who's George Stone? I go, George Stone was a Met pitcher in 1973. If Yogi had pitched him in the World Series against the Oakland A's instead of Rush Seaver back a day early, we would have won the World Series against Reggie and the Oakland A's. I go, he led the league in ERA that year. He was like 10-1 or 9-1. I go, nobody could touch him, and he was a lefty. The A's never saw him. I go, pitch him, and they didn't pitch him, and we ended up losing. They rushed Matlack and Seaver back. We were up 3-2. We lost the last 2 games in Oakland. We would have won. I go, and I learned it. Seaver got lit that day. Reggie hit 2 homers on him in Game 7, and Reggie said, the Tom Seaver I faced today, not the Tom Seaver I faced 3 days ago. And I figured it out then. When you're a great pitcher and you got to pitch against somebody in a week, in a distance of a week, you're great one time and they see you. And after that, you're not great. It's always one good, one bad. I go, Schilling, they got him tonight. But he's like Tom Seaver. He's too great a pitcher. If he goes and pitches, and that night in Game 6, he pitched with a bloody sock, and he beat him. He was bleeding the whole game.
Damn.
And he beat him. And then in Game 7, what did they do? They pitched Derek Lowe, and Derek shut the door on him. And they came back and won. See, I knew, going in, I thought that the Red Sox would win 2 out of 3 in Boston. I never thought they'd go down 0-3 before they did it, though. But they did. They won 2 out of 3. They were down 3-0, and they won Game 4 and 5. And then they had the aces, and I wanted Schilling on that team because I used to have a list of guys. I told Casey on the street, I got a list of guys I want to give you that I only want to see a pitch against the Yankees because they can't beat them. I judge everybody with the Yankees because they're the best team. Steinbrenner always gets the best players. If you can beat them, you are great. You can beat anybody. And I gave him a list. I go, Schilling, Johnson. He goes, those guys? I go, yeah, because they already beat him against Arizona. They couldn't beat him when they won the World Series in 2001. I go, Randy shut them down, and he always did in his career, and so did Schilling. They pitched Schilling in 2004. He shut him down again. And then it was Derek Lowe's turn, and he put the nail in the coffin and beat him. And I knew he could do it. I felt like I was responsible for that. I've been waiting to get the Yankees for years. And it broke them.
Because they were, from 96 through then, it was basically the Yankees every year, at least in the hunt or deep in the World Series. They didn't win it every year.
Right.
And then since the Red Sox made that run, that reverse, the Yankees have won World Series. Right?
And they only got that. Yeah, they only got that because Teixeira, who was about to sign with the Red Sox that night, got a call from Cashman. And he goes, I'll give you another year. Just come play for us. He would have went to Boston. They would have won in 2009. They would have won in 10 and 11. They would have kept winning. The Yankees wouldn't have the World Series in 21 years and counting. And Teixeira was a big reason because Teixeira was great with the Angels. And I remember going to a game one night and he hit a grand slam in the ninth inning against the Yankees. And the guy went like this, the X, Teixeira, And somebody stood up and went, next year you're going to be doing that for us. That was 2008. And I wanted to choke the guy because I knew he was right. I knew he was going to end up there, and he did, and they won the World Series. It was Teixeira. A-Rod had a great World Series itself, but without Teixeira, they don't get there. He was an amazing fielder. You couldn't hit one by him, and he was clutch. And so I don't ever remember him hitting a double play because everything was on a line or over the fence. Everything was a cannonball off his bat. He was great. So, but that's it. I told Casey, and I hope you remember this, Casey, come on someday, because I did give you that advice. And they did pitch Derek Lowe, and they broke the curse. They broke the curse.
And that has stood the test of time so far. I mean, that's 17 years ago now.
And by the way, the Red Sox have 9 World Series championships. Their next one's going to be double digits because everybody made fun of them for all those years, but yet, they still have 9. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. They're a great franchise. They seem to always be in the hunt.
Well, they should be. The Yankees just didn't steal Ruth. They stole another guy, I think Bob Musial, I want to say, who was great in Murderers Row. And they stole the GM, who was getting all those guys with Boston. He was the guy. And I want to say they got Lefty Grove as well, who was a great pitcher. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Those guys all won it with the Red Sox.
Well, Bob, we're basically at the end of our show here. Is there any closing thoughts you want to share with the audience?
Yeah. again, I would just want to say subscribe and like, and we're going to get people on. Trust me. I was just thinking about, since we're talking baseball, I'm going to call Ryan Klesko, the ex first baseman of the Braves, who played the Yankees and Jeter in the World Series, and then maybe we'll get some players on from him. And we're definitely going to get on Tim Mead, who's the president of Cooperstown, who was an Angels vice president for 40 years. You know, I'm friends with him, so we're going to get him on. So please listen, watch, and if you're any kind of a big player or star, come on. We'll take you on.
Absolutely. And folks, like and subscribe. We're working through the technical issues. We've had some snafus in the past, but this show is going to take off. We are going to bring on some star-studded guests here. So stay tuned, stay subscribed, stay liking, and Bob, we'll see everybody on the other side.
Yeah, we will.
All right,
Have a nice
folks.
day,
You
everybody.
stay peaceful, folks. Take care. Signing off from the Sports Show with Bob Spino. This is Rob. Sayonara.